Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It's your usual host, Lord Drongo of Team Nordic USA. And today we're going to talk about more of our build reviews and builds for competition. So, our four blades that we're going to cover today are the birds. Of course, I only have three of them. But yeah, we're doing the birds and Tyranno. Beat. Anyways, so we've got Crimson Garuda, we've got Talon Terra, and we've got Phoenix Wing, or Wing Phoenix, however you want to say it. Not Feather Phoenix, let's just put it that way. And Beat Tyranno. Not Feather Phoenix and not Rudder Phoenix. Sadly, because I still don't own those yet. But I will do the research and get them as soon as possible. Until further notice, though, I'm working with the ones that I currently do own. Without further ado, though, let's just get into it because I don't want to get into too much of a rant. Plus, our Beyblade Locals is fixing to start up very soon, here in the next 4 or 5 hours or so. So I need to get food cooked, eat, and head that way. Anyways, let's get right into Crimson Garuda. Notes is Garuda has severely high attack power and speed at the cost of defense and stamina, utilizing its wide sweeping wings to score sweeps. And that's kind of the goal. Typically, anything like Shark or anything that's like a two-sided style blade, as we mentioned before, is intended to burst or knock into the corner pockets for 2-point scores. Typically, they lose stamina very fast, but the trade-off is they hit very hard because of their particular shape and the way that they are just designed to abuse anything that comes at them in any other form. So we got the stats locked in at attack power, 10 out of 10. We are being a little generous there. It's more like a 9 in my opinion, professionally. But based on the stats and how I'm seeing people play it against really strong blades, it deserves a memento there for sure. So I bumped it up to a 10 out of a 10, just out of professional courtesy. Defense, 2 out of 10. Very low. Two-sided blades don't typically tend to do very well on defense, although there are some that can pull it off. Speed, 7 out of 10. Two-sided blades do tend to go pretty fast. They're not quite as fast as three-sided blades tend to be, but those two really fight each other for the top spot in speed, two sides and three sides. Stamina is a 4 out of 10. It is a two-sided blade, which means the weight is going to be constantly tilting between those two instead of leveling out and just hovering. So, typically they don't tend to have a very, very high stamina stat at all. But yeah, that is Crimson Garuda in our 5 recommended builds. And we really like this blade here on this channel. It's really cool. And just if you want to check it out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So without further ado, up next is Talon Terra. Alrighty, everybody. So here we are with Talon Terra, and this one's kind of a wide spectrum of different pieces. It really kind of goes all over the place. It starts at this end with like the stamina balance play, and it starts working its way little by little into more and more aggressive builds until it hits this very end one, which is a pure defensive build. It's kind of crazy how this one tends to work. So the notes that I'm going to mention is that Talon is a decent stamina attacker, allowing you to hit fairly hard while trying to outlast your opponent, and that kind of is true. It does have a pretty good level of stamina, especially for a more attack-oriented style blade, much like how Chain Incendio and Tail Viper also operate. So without further ado, let's just kind of dive right into it. Up first is the 380 on ball stamina build. The typical play here is you're going to play dodgy tactics, and you're going to try and stay away from your opponent as much as you can afford to be. You're going to let them wear themselves down and run themselves a little bit thin, and then just try to outlast them for a survival finish. It's very straightforward build, very easy to understand. Once you get some practice in on it, you'll understand pretty well. Up next is 160 on Orb. I'm not a huge fan of Orb in comparison to Ball. I do acknowledge that both bits are incredibly powerful, but I feel like Orb is a little bit more bursty than Ball is, just because Ball has this smoothed edge that tends to really keep things more stable. Whereas Orb, I feel like as soon as it leans over, that's pretty much it. It's leaned, it's over. That's not always the case, but it just seems to be the case. So I'm not as big a fan as the 160 the Orb as I am the 380 on Ball. Yes, you're a little bit taller, but at the same time, there's just a lot of stability that comes with what's supposed to be a 3-sided blade, but actually, if you look closely, it's technically a 6 again. Anyways, 360 on flat. Now we're getting into the more aggressive style builds where you're trying to play offense and you kind of alter the stats some. You get a little bit more attack heavy. You're a little bit lower to the ground because it is a 60 ratchet, and flat just has always been a really good aggressive style bit in the game since it launched. 560 on low rush is arguably one of the best builds in my opinion. It just typically tends to play very well. 560 has good stamina. It's got a low burst rate. Rush is great. Low rush is great because you're lower to the ground and you're really playing on these upper attack points here, the in between points that typically tend to hit up and tip your opponent over for destabilization. And then this build came out of nowhere. Like I did some research on it, and I was like, oh man, that's an insanely good build, but it is very, very hard to master. And that is 680 on dot. 680 on dot for Talon Terra is a really, really hard to build, really hard to play build due to its high standing point. You're looking at a very, very tall, traditional defense play. It is very tall in like retrospect to typically what you see in Beyblade X. So it's a much harder combo to play, but if you master the 680 on dot, you can really dominate your locals big time and learn how to play on a higher level when you go to big competitions. It's insanely powerful, but like I said, it's very hard to play. So if you go that route, expect to be frustrated. Just expect that because it's just so hard to play. Okay. Anyways, moving on. Stats. We got this one locked in at 6 out of 10 for the attack power and 5 out of 10 for defense. So pretty balanced. That's a good sign. Speed 4 out of 10. That's traditionally understandable. Your balance bays tend to fall anywhere from 4 to 7 on their speed radius, depending on design and what build you're going with. Stamina 6 out of 10 does have really good stamina. It does have a very good smooth circular design with some ridges that takes away from its stamina, but it also has weight points on those ridges, which adds right back to the stamina. So we locked it in at 6 out of 10 because it does tend to show a lot of promise in that category. So that is Talon Terra, and without further ado, we're going to move on to our next one, which is Wing Phoenix. Okay, everybody, so here we are talking about our oh so wonderful Phoenix Wing. And I really love Phoenix Wing ever since it came out. It's just so freaking cool. It's a really amazing Beyblade. It's very competitive. It's got good weight to it. It's very good weight. It's got decent stamina, very high speed. It's got these 3 hard-hitting, heavy contact points. It's got these 3 smooth, round-edged contact points. And it's got these 3 smaller counter-hit contact points. So it's got basically just in one wing alone, you've got 1, 2, 3 points of contact. So you've got 3, 6, 9 points of contact in different forms. 1 rounded for glancing off, 1 pointed, rigid for counter hitting, and then 1 just jutting out for solid swings that really hit wide. So our notes on this is due to its 3-wing design and heavy weight, this bay has high potential in all categories, and that actually is pretty true. There's some crazy strategies I've seen with Phoenix Wing ever since it released, and it has been just an incredible blade that has changed the meta since day one, which it came out later than that, but I'm pointing out that since its day one reveal, that's when it really changed the meta. Up first is 360 on Rush, being the most consistent build for it, next to 960 Flat. These are also interchangeable. If you want to switch them around, go 960 on Rush, 360 on Flat. Both work incredibly well in either form for the blade, offering huge amounts of aggression, hard-hitting contact points, and just absolutely can blow your opponent away. So they're both really great. 160 on Low Rush, coming in right, nipping on their heels. Incredibly powerful build. A little bit hard to predict, but a little bit fun to play. So a very interesting build that really punishes your opponent. For playing taller bays. If they're playing taller, you can really punish them. You don't necessarily ratchet snipe per se. You can go for that strategy. It's just that it typically tends to just punish in all forms instead of one form. So 160 on Low Rush is very fun. 560 on Point, offering a lot more stamina and going for a slightly longer game, kind of the mid-game play, trying to outlast your opponent and then hit them one really good time to either destabilize them or just kind of hopefully walk them into one of the pockets and score some extra points. So very cool build. Defensively, 370 on Dot. This one is a very controversial one. There's a good 50-50 split down the middle. It's terrible, it's great, it's terrible, it's great. I think it's great. It's a heavy enough bay to where it can abuse defensive strategies, and 370 gives it a good amount of stamina with some extra weight, giving it that more staying power in the middle of the arena. Dot gives you options as opposed to Spike or Needle. Anything Spike Needle typically is just going to go straight to the middle and just kind of coast in neutral. And that's okay for defense, but sometimes you kind of want to move around a little bit. So you play something like Hexa, you play Dot, you play something a little bit lower to the ground, perhaps, like maybe you would play Ball, or something that's really going to get you to move around just a little bit before settling in the middle. That way your opponent wastes off too much energy. And Dot is just one of the better bits at doing that in the defense side of things. Let's go into the stats. We got the attack power on this, 7 out of 10. Now keep in mind, I'm not saying that this blade itself in build is 7 out of 10. What I'm trying to point out is that these stats are based on the blade by itself with nothing attached. So 7 out of 10. Defense, 5 out of 10. Speed, 8 out of 10. It's probably one of the fastest blades just purely on design and aerodynamics, okay? So speed 8 out of 10. You can absolutely go rush and just make it just 10 out of 10, or break the bar and go 11 out of 10. It's just insane, you know? It's just insane how good this blade typically is. Stamina, 4 out of 10. It is a 3-sided blade, which gives it some stamina play, but not a lot. So keep that in mind when you're doing your designs or choosing which build you want to play around with and figure it out, okay? So that is Phoenix Wing. It is a really, really fun bay. I do recommend it. It does come in a special pack, which gets you a string launcher. It and the 960, if I'm not mistaken, comes with it. So it's just a good, like bay to buy 2 of right off the rip. So that way you have a strong competitive bay to play in. And that's just where the standpoint is on Phoenix Wing. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump on over to Tyranno Beat. Alrighty, everybody. So here we are with Tyranno Beat. We're going to move this out of the way and get this out here where it's supposed to be. Anyways, so ratchets and all that. You'll notice I don't have a lot here. Borrowed, did research as usual, made sure that I understood really well what I was talking about before shooting the video. The notes is that Tyranno Beat has been a dominating powerhouse ever since it showed up on the scene, and its shape is purely aggressive with a downstrike focus. It's really, really cool blade that a lot of people just love. It is, in fact, a 2 hard point wide contact, meant to kind of look like its tail swinging around and just, aggressively slapping the opponent. This is one of the hardest hitting bays in the history of Beyblade X. And so without further ado, let's get these builds talked about. Up first is the 160 on Rush. This is probably the most overused build for Tyranno Beat. It's just purely aggressive. It hits super hard. It's got the 160 ratchet leaning to one side, forcing the Tyranno to really run around the arena doing exactly what it should do. And it's just a really powerful build, and it could absolutely devastate the competition. The weight alone is enough to really punish your opponents, and it's just a really, really good, build. Up next is 770 on Kick. My Kick is over here in the box. It's on my Leon, and I just want to leave it there for now. Probably one of the more fun and chaotic builds, much like 160 Rush. 770 on Kick is just trying to use the stamina game to do the exact same goal. Go all over the arena, hit really, really hard, and just absolutely destroy. It's one of the more really out of the left field rogue builds, and not a lot of people expect it. So when you bring it, it's kind of like, oh no, that's crazy. I should have thought about that before I built my builds. Anyways, up next is 980 and 970. 980 on taper and 970 on high taper. Typically, they're both essentially the same thing. If you look at them height-wise, you're using the 70 on high taper to achieve the same height as the 80 on taper. You're wanting to stand at exactly that height and just downstrike your opponent, but you're also playing on taper so that you can lean in the early game and avoid them a little bit, and then go for the stamina finish at the end by just beating down on it from the top of them over and over with a tall standing bay that's not too freakishly tall. So you won't really see a 980 on high taper because that's just standing up way too tall, and blades like Shark, Garuda, and so on could easily just reach up under there, grab that ratchet, and throw you apart. You don't want that. So typically the 70 and 80 are countered of each other in those builds to help people have options in their deck. And then finally, 560 on point. 560 on point is kind of the all-around balance play for the whole bay. Incredibly powerful, incredibly stamina, good speed, good beat power, just all around really good play. A little bit harder to master out of these 5 due to the fact that point, when you land, that the ridge around the edges just immediately goes into pure aggression, and those 2-sided wings like that are definitely going to throw you all around the arena really hard. Thankfully, it is very rounded, so you don't lose too much stamina when you hit the walls. You just got to watch out for bouncing off the rail and running yourself into a self knockout. It's not fun. But so that's the 5 builds, and we just want to go ahead and talk about the stats now. We got the attack power locked in at 8 out of 10. Very high attack power for the blade. It's very well designed. The defense is 3 out of 10. Typically, you're not going to see very many defense builds for Beat Tyranno Beat, just because it is a 2-side, so stamina is not very high. It does have some stamina for a two-side, which is actually kind of a memento to its, like a proclaim to its overall strength. Um, but speed is 6 out of 10. It is definitely one of the faster bays out there. Just off the design, the aerodynamics, very rounded edges, very beautiful weight on two sides. It really does travel around the arena very fast. And as I said before, the stamina is actually kind of high for a two-sided bay at 6 out of 10. So 8 out of 10, 3 out of 10, 6 out of 10, and 6 out of 10. Its stamina is a little bit higher, which lets you abuse this 5-point build. Um, and it's just incredibly, really good bay. If you see it and you think, oh man, I wonder if that bay is any good, go ahead and grab it off the shelf because it's actually really usable. QuakeBit is very what, like people don't really use it. So that's whatever. But the other parts that come in the package are incredibly strong and they're just really good. So I want to say thank you so much for sticking it through all the way to the end. Thank you. Please hit that like and subscribe button, and you'll get more notifications on Beyblade content and other things that we upload. And thank you so much. We play every Saturday at Dice Head Games and Comics in the Bradley Square Mall, 200 Paul Huff Parkway in Cleveland, Tennessee. And we meet up every week at around 5 p.m. and we play until about 7, a little bit before 7. And it would be great for you to come on out and have some fun with us. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time.